In the grand tapestry of human interaction, there is perhaps no dynamic more fascinating, nor more quietly dramatic, than the encounter between a highly sensitive, introverted soul and a personality driven by an insatiable need for control. Picture, if you will, a roaring storm crashing against a deep, still ocean. On the surface, the storm seems to hold all the power, dominating the sky with thunder and lightning, demanding that the world pay attention to its fury. This is the narcissist, loud, demanding, constantly projecting an image of invincibility. But beneath the churning waves lies a profound, unshakable depth that the storm can never reach nor understand. This is the INFJ. Often misunderstood as merely soft-spoken or overly sensitive, these individuals carry within them a psychological architecture so intricate and powerful that it functions like a highly calibrated radar. They move through the world not with the clattering armor of ego, but with the quiet, penetrating light of intuition. When a narcissist crosses paths with such a person, they usually make a fatal miscalculation. They assume that quietness equals compliance and that empathy equals weakness. But what they are about to discover is that the INFJ possesses a rare and profound set of psychological defenses, a kind of emotional alchemy that silently, systematically, and completely dismantles the fragile illusions upon which the narcissist's entire world is built. Welcome to a deep exploration of the human psyche, where we will uncover the unspoken power of the quiet observer. To truly understand this invisible battlefield, we must first understand the architecture of the narcissist's mind. Imagine an actor who has been playing a role for so long that they have entirely forgotten who they are off the stage. The narcissist survives on a diet of admiration, validation, and absolute control over the narrative. They construct a magnificent facade, a gleaming house of mirrors designed to reflect only their charm, their success, and their superiority. They need an audience that buys the ticket and claps at the performance without ever questioning the script. In many Western cultures, where extroversion and outward displays of confidence are heavily rewarded, the narcissist often thrives, easily gathering a flock of admirers. But this entire structure is built on a foundation of profound insecurity. It is a fortress made of paper. The narcissist's greatest fear is not failure, but exposure. They are terrified of being seen as ordinary, flawed, or empty. Therefore, they desperately need the people around them to be easily molded, willing to suspend disbelief and accept the projection as reality. They seek out empathetic individuals, hoping to use their warmth as fuel for their own cold engines. But when they lock their sights on an INFJ, the script begins to unravel in a way they never anticipated. This silent observation is incredibly potent. The INFJ does not rush to the center of the room to pull the mask off the narcissist. They do not engage in dramatic confrontations or attempt to convince the enchanted crowd that they are being fooled. Instead, they become a quiet, unyielding witness. They begin to mentally catalog the inconsistencies. They notice how the narcissist treats the waiter compared to how they treat the wealthy host. They observe the subtle put-downs disguised as jokes, the shifting of blame, the desperate hunger for the spotlight. This quiet knowing creates a profound, energetic shift. Even without a single word being spoken, the narcissist begins to feel an uncomfortable prickle on the back of their neck. Narcissists are highly attuned to how they are being perceived, and they can sense when an audience member is not applauding. The INFJ's calm, steady gaze acts as a spotlight on the cracks in the facade. It is a psychological stalemate where the narcissist realizes, with growing panic, that their magic tricks are not working on this quiet individual. The harder the narcissist tries to impress, the more stories they spin, the more the INFJ simply watches, entirely unmoved by the theatrical display. This refusal to be charmed is the first quiet victory of truth over illusion. As the interaction deepens, we encounter the second profound dynamic, the phenomenon of the emotional mirror. INFJs possess a deeply unique psychological trait. They do not merely process the emotions of others, they absorb them and, often entirely unconsciously, reflect them back into the atmosphere. When surrounded by genuine warmth, an INFJ radiates an intoxicating, cozy light. But when faced with the cold, calculating energy of a narcissist, the INFJ's psyche transforms into a flawlessly polished mirror. In classic literature, like The Haunting Tale of Dorian Gray, We see the terror of a man forced to look upon the rotting reality of his own soul while his outward appearance remains pristine. The INFJ becomes that portrait for the narcissist. The narcissist approaches the INFJ expecting to find a pliable, adoring reflection of their false, grandiose self. Instead, they look into the calm, deep eyes of the INFJ and suddenly feel the chilling reflection of their own hidden shame, their cruelty, and their profound emptiness. The INFJ does not have to hurl insults or point out flaws. Simply by existing in their authentic state and refusing to validate the fake persona, they force the narcissist into an uncomfortable confrontation with reality. This emotional mirroring is utterly terrifying for someone who has spent their entire life running away from themselves. The narcissist expects the INFJ to act like a sponge, absorbing their toxic waste and offering pure empathy in return. But the mirror deflects the toxicity right back to its source. The narcissist begins to feel a rising tide of anxiety, irritability, and unexplained dread whenever they are in the presence of this quiet observer. They might try to regain control by launching subtle criticisms, attempting to make the INFJ feel small or unsure of themselves. They might project their own insecurities onto the INFJ, accusing them of being overly sensitive or judgmental. But the INFJ, grounded in their profound self-awareness, simply watches this desperate dance. They do not absorb the projection. They do not react with the defensive anger that the narcissist so desperately wants. This non-reaction is devastating. It deprives the narcissist of the emotional chaotic energy they need to feel powerful. It is in this profound stillness, this refusal to play the assigned role in the narcissist's toxic play, that the INFJ exerts a terrifying kind of psychological dominance. The illusion is shattering, not by a hammer, but by the sheer, undeniable presence of a clear reflection. When the narcissist attempts to rewrite a past event or deny something they previously stated, the INFJ does not immediately fly into a rage. Instead, they present a quiet, almost clinical resistance. Their internal archive immediately cross-references the new lie with the recorded truth. Because their values are so firm, they are nearly immune to gaslighting. While a typical target might begin to think, maybe I did misunderstand, maybe I am being too harsh, the INFJ thinks, no, I know exactly what happened and I know exactly what you are doing. In conversation, this manifests as a chillingly calm firmness. The INFJ might simply say, that is not what happened, or your actions do not align with your words. These statements are delivered without the emotional hysteria that the narcissist uses to invalidate their victims. They are delivered as plain, unarguable facts. This calm assertion of reality drives the narcissist to madness. They cannot manipulate someone who refuses to live in their alternate reality. The narcissist realizes that the INFJ cannot be bribed by flattery, nor intimidated by guilt. The INFJ stands like a lighthouse on a rocky shore, the storm of the narcissist's manipulation crashing against them, unable to move the solid stone of their integrity. The light continues to sweep across the dark waters, illuminating the truth. We now arrive at the fourth and perhaps most profoundly misunderstood aspect of the INFJ personality, empathetic boundaries. There is a common cultural misconception that deep empathy equates to being a perpetual doormat. It is true that INFJs feel the pain of the world intensely. They possess a beautiful, healing desire to comfort the broken, to understand the misunderstood, and to offer second, third, and fourth chances. They view humanity through a lens of immense compassion. The narcissist, smelling this empathy from a mile away, views it as an all-you-can-eat buffet. They approach the INFJ with grand tales of victimhood, playing on the INFJ's natural instinct to nurture and heal. At first, the narcissist might feel triumphant, believing they have secured a permanent emotional supply. But what the narcissist fails to understand is that the INFJ's empathy is not blind, and it is certainly not endless. It is coupled with a piercing intellect and a profound instinct for self-preservation. The INFJ is willing to walk through the fire to help a genuine soul in distress, but the moment they realize the distress is manufactured to manipulate them, the vault doors slam shut. They recognize the difference between someone who is bleeding and someone who is merely pretending to be wounded to steal their energy. When this realization dawns, the INFJ enacts their boundaries not with aggressive shouting or dramatic declarations, but with a quiet, devastating finality. Imagine a warm, inviting hearth fire suddenly being extinguished, leaving only cold stones. The narcissist attempts to use their usual tactics, a heavy guilt trip, a sudden emotional crisis, a dramatic plea for attention, but they are met with a polite, impenetrable wall. The INFJ stops offering deep emotional responses. They stop trying to fix the narcissist's self-created problems. Their answers become short, courteous, and entirely devoid of the emotional nourishment the narcissist craves. This is the velvet steel of the INFJ. They do not hate the narcissist, they simply withdraw their life force from the interaction. To a narcissist, being hated is still a form of attention. It means they still matter, they still have power. But being treated with polite, emotionally detached indifference is agonizing. It is the psychological equivalent of starvation. The INFJ has essentially said, I see your pain, but I also see your game. And I refuse to be a piece on your board. This boundary is unbreachable because it is built not on anger, which can be manipulated, but on a crystal clear realization of the truth. This realization inevitably leads to the fifth mechanism of defense, the art of strategic withdrawal. There is a deeply ingrained cultural narrative that implies walking away is a sign of weakness, that true strength lies in staying and fighting the battle. But the INFJ operates on a higher plane of emotional intelligence. They understand that engaging in a tug-of-war with a pig in the mud only results in you getting dirty while the pig enjoys it. When an INFJ identifies a situation as inherently toxic and irredeemable, their immediate instinct is not to win the argument, but to protect their inner peace. They recognize that their energy is a precious currency, and they flatly refuse to spend another dime on a bankrupt investment. So, they begin the process of uncoupling. This is not a rash, emotionally driven disappearing act. It is a highly calculated, strategic retreat. They slowly and systematically untangle their lives, their emotions, and their time from the narcissist's web. They stop initiating contact. They stop asking questions. They become a ghost in the narcissist's life, present only in physical form, if at all, while their spirit has already packed its bags and left the building. This quiet withdrawal is the ultimate checkmate. The sheer silence of this departure is what shatters the narcissist's illusion of control. Narcissists thrive on chaos, on the dramatic back and forth, on the desperate texts and the tearful confrontations. It proves to them that they are impactful, that they are unforgettable. But the INFJ gives them nothing. It is a void. The narcissist is left shouting into an empty canyon, receiving not even an echo in return. In a desperate bid to regain their footing, the narcissist might try to provoke a reaction. They might spread rumors. They might flaunt a new relationship. They might attempt a sudden, uncharacteristically sweet apology. But the INFJ has already crossed the bridge and burned it behind them. They observe these pathetic attempts with a detached sadness, fully aware that it is just another manipulation tactic. The INFJ's absence speaks louder than any argument ever could. It is a profound statement of absolute rejection, not just of the narcissist's actions, but of their entire false reality. The INFJ has reclaimed their power simply by refusing to play the game. They have realized that the only way to truly defeat a narcissist is to leave them entirely alone with the one person they cannot stand, themselves. Finally, we reach the beautiful aftermath, the sixth and most enduring victory of the INFJ, transformative growth. The encounter with a toxic personality is never entirely without pain, even for the most guarded INFJ. They mourn the illusion of the person they thought they knew. They feel the sting of the betrayal. But an INFJ never lets a painful experience go to waste. They are natural emotional alchemists. While a narcissist is eternally trapped in a psychological Groundhog Day, repeating the same toxic cycles, burning bridges and blaming the world for the smoke, the INFJ is busy doing the profound, grueling work of self-reflection. They take the painful experience into the deep laboratory of their soul. They analyze not just the narcissist behavior, but their own vulnerabilities. Why did they let this person in? Where were their boundaries lacking? How can they ensure this never happens again? They read, they journal, they seek to understand the mechanics of trauma and manipulation. They do not run from the pain, they sit with it, study it, and allow it to forge them into something stronger. This is the profound resilience of the human spirit. the ability to take the poison intended to destroy you and synthesize it into a cure. As months and years pass, the contrast between the two individuals becomes breathtakingly clear. The narcissist remains exactly where they were, utilizing the same tired manipulation tactics on new, unsuspecting victims, eternally hungry, eternally empty. But the INFJ has evolved. They have grown into a higher, more fiercely protected version of themselves. They walk with a quiet, undeniable authority. Their intuition, once just a feeling, is now a sharply honed instrument. They spot red flags from miles away and sidestep toxic traps with graceful ease. They begin to attract healthier, more authentic relationships because they no longer resonate with the frequency of manipulation. If the narcissist ever tries to peek back into the INFJ's life, perhaps hoping to find them still wounded or pining for the past, they are met with a devastating reality. They are looking at an unshakable fortress, a person who has ascended to a level of emotional maturity and peace that the narcissist cannot even comprehend, let alone breach. The space created by this massive personal growth is the final, permanent severance. The INFJ has not just survived the storm, they have learned how to command the weather in their own soul. They have turned their deepest pain into their most untouchable power. In the end, the triumph of the INFJ over the narcissist is not a tale of revenge, anger, or dramatic destruction. It is a quiet, beautiful testament to the enduring power of truth. The INFJ proves that you do not need to be loud to be powerful. You do not need to be cruel to set boundaries. You do not need to play the game to win. By staying grounded in their profound intuition, by refusing to reflect anything but the truth, by clinging to their unwavering values, setting empathetic but ironclad boundaries, walking away with silent dignity, and committing to endless personal growth, they dismantle the dark illusions of the narcissist simply by shining their natural light. For anyone listening who carries this quiet, sensitive, yet unbreakable spirit, let this be a profound reminder of your inherent strength, the very qualities that the world and toxic individuals try to paint as your weaknesses. Your deep feeling, your introversion, your constant desire for authenticity are in fact your greatest psychological armor. You are the calm center of the storm. You are the mirror that cannot be cracked. Continue to trust that quiet voice within you. Continue to protect your peace with fierce grace. May you always walk forward in the gentle, unyielding power of your own beautiful truth, knowing that the light you carry within is stronger than any shadow that attempts to dim it. Thank you for walking this profound journey of understanding with us, and may your path ahead be filled with clarity, healing, and deep, enduring peace.